I got to be able to step back and analyze it with a fresh new perspective. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about another cult that has a horrible reputation for the crazy things that they did and breaking down kind of how it came to be and what led up to the horrible massacre. Let's get into it. So the first thing that you need to know is that the Jonestown Massacre is the same group as the People's Temple cult. The group was led by a man named Jim Jones, who initially he rose to prominence as a progressive leader who gained the following with promises of racial equality, salvation in the next life, and a type of basically utopian society. He wanted to make paradise on earth. And in the 1970s, he moved his followers to a remote area in Guyana, I want to say, where he was trying to make that their utopia. And so he established a settlement there, and he names it Jonestown. And it became this isolated community that he hoped would be free from oppressive influences of the U.S. government and the outside influence. And that's kind of how he sold his members on the idea. We're going to go create our own little country, our own community, and make it this utopia. So the People's Temple had originally been based in California and had attracted thousands of followers, many of whom were searching for meaning. They just wanted something to be a part of, right? And they loved that idea of a perfect society. Jones used this to manipulate them and even lied further with promising them, that he can get them into heaven and give them salvation and all of that, so that he could control his followers. And so that's how he gained the following and built up a group of people that he eventually moved out to Guyana. And he starts indoctrinating more and more intense and crazy belief systems amongst his people. With time, the paranoia and obsessive role of Jones intensified as he became more detached from reality. And he just starts getting crazier and crazier. The members were forced to live under his strict rules with little to no contact with the outside world, which is very typical. We see this in a lot of cult type of environments, right? So just he starts implementing and getting more and more cult-like, when originally it started off with him trying to paint the picture of just being a nice, healthy religion, creating a utopia. But the more isolated, the longer they go without any outside contact from the rest of the world, the more control and the more oppressive that the group becomes. Eventually, this is what led to the massacre itself, happening on November 18th, 1978, after there was rumors of obvious clear abuse and crazy things happening within this town. It got to congressmen. The congressmen decided to visit Jonestown with the intent of investigating the reports, seeing what was going on, because they were hearing lots of stories about abuse and mistreatments from family members of people that were in this cult, right? So this congressman named Ryan, he decides to go and investigate and see what's going on. And during his visit, some of the members of the group start asking him, this congressman, if they can leave the group. So very quickly it becomes clear that they don't want to be there. Many of them have been trying to get away but haven't been successful. They haven't been able to leave. So the congressman agrees to help them get out of there. But he quickly realizes that it's not going to be easy because the entire town is influenced by this cult. But he wants to help them. So he starts gathering the small group that have been asking to leave, and he's taking them to the airport on the island. Of course, the leader of the cult, Jim Jones, he finds out very quickly what's happening, and he starts to panic. So what he does, he sends some of his inner circle close men to go after those people trying to run away, right? And after that congressman. And so once the congressman and the small group makes it to the airport, so then at the airport, they meet up with them. And in front of many witnesses, Jim's own people start attacking the congressman and the people that were with him that he was trying to help get away, right? And it breaks into this all-out crazy fight that eventually ended with the congressman and every one of those people trying to get away. They were all killed. Jim's own men killed their own members trying to leave, as well as this congressman. So this became huge. It became very evident and out in the open. Everyone knew what was happening at this point. So it became clear that the members of the People's Temple were willing to kill for their leader. And I think Jones started to realize, he must have thought about how everyone would soon know how dangerous his group was, because Shortly after, Jones orders the mass suicide. Over 900 people, including more than 300 children, died that day in what became one of the largest mass suicides in history, but it still argued that it wasn't a suicide. It was murder. These people were coerced into it. Jim Jones led the massacre by instructing everyone to drink this laced Kool-Aid. This leader of them all telling them exactly what to do, he was the cause of the murders. It doesn't feel quite like suicide, right? And so it's unclear if they were told what was going on, if the members themselves knew that they were supposed to be going on to their next life. So some of the exact details is still unclear and up to interpretation, but it's believed that some were coerced into taking the Kool-Aid, while others may have volunteered under the belief that it was the only way to escape this corrupt world and go to the utopia that they were waiting for, right? And so as they drank the poison, there were reports of even gunshots that went off, suggesting that Jones's inner circle, the higher ups, were enforcing and making sure no one could escape. Those who hesitated were forced to comply or shot, and the bodies of the deceased were piled up in rows and rows. And the horror of the situation was only fully realized once the massacre was over and it was too late to stop it. It's crazy to think whether it was forced or some people were convinced that it would be true or whatever it was. At the end of the day, all these people ended up dying over some guy wanting to have control over them, some guy pretending to be this prophet leading them, right? It's just absolutely crazy. You don't want to follow someone blindly, especially one who manipulates his followers with fear and tactics and even these promises that can't be proven until the next life. So it's like, man, just crazy. Their own followers ends up being the ones hurt and destroyed by the evil acts of these leaders. It's really sad. The horrors of the Jonestown still resonate today as a cautionary tale of the tragic extremes that can emerge when those in power exploit the trust of others. I hope this was informative. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.